ain't gonna get the Grammys because they be on some fuck shit, so I'm gonna give my speech right now. I wrote my speech for Under Pressure, and it wasn't even nominated. And I believe what I had written was something along the lines of a speech in my pocket. I never thought I was gonna get to say this. I don't know, it might be stupid or overkill or what, cringe.
Alright, hey guys, what's up? It's Reaper here, and today I'm doing a little bit of a different video. It's gonna be a longer video than my average video, but this does have relation to my most previous video talking about Logic and his retirement. And as you guys know, or if not, Logic just dropped a new album. It's his final album. It's called No Pressure. It's kind of the follow up. Well, it is the follow up to Under Pressure, which was an absolute great album. But today I'm kind of here to review No Pressure along with the whole rest of Logic's album, starting from Under Pressure, going all the way to the end, and everything in between. So I feel like we should get started. Under Pressure, it has classic songs one after the other. Under Pressure, but Under Pressure, Metropolis till the end, getting related to Soul Food. But I think that this being the second album I've heard from Logic, the first one being The Incredible True Story, but just hearing this album, I feel it brings me back to when I first discovered him and hearing him in the Phase videos and like seeing him in the Phase videos. I remember there's a video with him doing playing a game of Skate with Temper, but just seeing it, just I don't know, it makes me like happy to hear like this is old Logic. Some people say this is still when Logic was amazing, but I don't think he ever really fell off. This album, I think personally, for what it did for me, it changed my whole view on rap. Before Logic, I was really only listening to Lil Wayne, Eminem, stuff that my dad was showing me at the time. I didn't have a good didn't have a good feeling for what good music was, and I was like, oh, if it's rap, it's good, or if it's heavy metal. But I remember sitting 2013 and stuff, seeing Logic and hearing Logic, not knowing who he was at the time, watching Phase videos, and I'm like, oh wow, this dude is dope, I wonder who he is. And then I saw him in that video in probably 2015, and I was like, wow, I was like now I get it. Like, Logic is just, to me, Logic was just on a whole other level when I first found him. I still think he is. Going back, my favorite rappers are Pop Smoke, Juice World, Young Thug, all of them, but those are like some of my favorites, still just a few, but Logic's above everybody. Just the nostalgia he brings and the happiness he brings me when hearing it. I know I keep saying nostalgia, but that's just how I feel with this album, Under Pressure. I mean, it was just, for the time, me hearing it and him rapping about his own life, and made me feel some way that just made me really fall in love with the album. And just because at first I was like I don't know how I feel about it. It's okay, but after one more listen to it, I was like, actually, after hearing Metropolis for the second time, I fell in love with that song. I fell in love with the album, and ever since, it's always playing in my car, around my house, or anytime I'm really just playing music. Under Pressure is always in the playlist, or any song from really Under Pressure, especially like Soul Food, Gang Related, I'm Gone. If we're splitting this album into like halves, like half, the first half of this album, from like song 7 and up, just gives you such an insane vibe. It gives you an upbeat vibe, but with darker lyrics, and talking about crazy shit. And then going from 8 down, it's a little bit more laid back, I feel, but you have some upbeat till the end. I remember till the end. I have a funny story about this song. I was in class at the time. This is my ninth grade year, and I was talking to my friend. Still my friend to this day, but and he told me, he's like, yo, he's like, have you ever heard Till the End by Logic? I was like, of course I have. Who hasn't? It's like an amazing song. And this is completely off topic, but he's like, yeah. And we were talking. I was like, I can rap that song. I was like, no way. I was like, you really can't. I was like, you're gonna rap the whole song. Let alone he did. I mean, he's a great kid, great art, great talent. But just seeing someone else have a love for Logic was insane. And this was the first album I saw my first like 7+ minute song, and this song Under Pressure is 9 minutes and 20 seconds long. And that to me at the time was baffling. I'm like, oh, like, it's gonna be so boring. 9 minutes and 20 seconds, but there's not a single second on that song I don't love. I don't want to not listen to over and over and over again. But for me, this album, to this day, I mean, it's like in a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. If we're rating it, I really don't know why I'm rating all the albums, but I think I'm gonna. So, moving on to the next album, and the arguably my favorite, and to me like one of the most perfect albums ever created. The Incredible True Story. I mean, they're like Under Pressure, but there is not a bad song off this album. Not a bad verse. Not a bad anything really. I mean, even the intermissions from like Contact, the literal 2016, I heard it and just fell in love with it. I just played it all summer long, and I even outplayed it for myself for a while, and I was like, oh my god, dude, I was like, I gotta stop playing this. I was like, I'm ruining it for myself. We got through, I was like, wow. I was like, even if I do overplay it, I was like, it's just so good that, I wasn't even bothered by it. But just especially like seeing like Logic's thoughts on this, where we're pretty freaking amazing. I recently just re-listened to a lot of his discography, but hearing this again just brings me back to like summer of 2016, and just vibing really, and going down to like a port by me, and it was just really dope. And it's just times that you can never get back with certain people, and just hearing like whoa and the beat, and like I remember showing it to some people, like, yo, this shit sounds like some elevator music. I was like, just wait, and they heard it and they're like, yo, you're right, this is hot. I was like, bro, I know. And it's from then on, just Logic to me. I mean, some of my friends, a little iffy about him when it got to his new stuff, but I've always been tried and true with Logic, and I feel like I don't want to say he never put out a bad album, but there's some questionable albums that he put out that I thought could have been better or had way better potential for what he did. And again, just listing some songs that were amazing: City of Stars, Stainless, the song The Incredible True Story. That song was insane with the drums and everything in the beginning. It felt like he was almost on like a talk show here with like the drums. It just sounded like it was happening like right in front of you. But like, just this is like, I feel like when like I think of like 2016 and like YouTube around this time, I feel like this is what I think of. I think of FaZe Clan, the summertime. I mean, all year for it, but the summertime, FaZe, like Whoa, Young Jesus, just and the NASA stuff, the Logic hoodies with like the NASA bomber jacket. This just really just it brings back to me much simpler times in music compared to what music is now. I mean, music now is great, but 2016 music is something we'll never get back, and I hope I hope that we get something close to it one day. But just hearing this album again is just amazing. And then brings Logic to his first mixtape, Bobby Tarantino. Dude, I remember when Bobby Tarantino dropped this the single of the album was like, well, off the mixtape EP kind of thing, was, I guess, yeah, you can say it an album. I don't know, but Flexecution was the first song I ever heard. This was the first song that came out for it, and I was like, holy shit! I was like, this song again just brought he. This is what like Logic was like going off, and Slave 2 was amazing. I mean, just this whole thing, even though it's like the 8th track, it's called Studio Ambience Night at Night Malibu. I mean, there's nothing really about it, but it's just so good. And just hearing it, Deeper Than Money was alright. It wasn't my favorite track, but other songs like 44 Bars had an iconic follow up on Bobby Tarantino too. 44 More, but not getting too ahead of myself right now. I think just everything from Illumina Intro to Flexecution, the Jam, Slave 2, just going down the whole list here. Word from our sponsors. Rest with Pusha T. I'm not a Pusha T fan at all. I really don't like Pusha T. But this song is amazing. Pusha T's verse is great, and just all of his stuff to me just feels easy to listen to. Like, you don't really have to think about, like, you can think about what he's saying, because he's saying some complex shit in his bars and everything, but you don't have to break it down as much as you would for, like, say, I don't know, like Young Thug, where you can't even understand them, but you're like, yeah, this shit still slaps, but it's just not it's not the same. But some people, say this is when Logic stopped being good. Was right after this, and then everybody came out. Everybody. Not a lot of people liked it. But I was a big fan of it. But some of the songs on this album, man, let me tell you, were amazing. Black Spider-Man, 1-800. I mean, just for deeper reasons for 1-800. Killing Spree, Everybody. I mean, for me, there's really not too much to say on this album, but this was just a phenomenal album that I thought was severely underrated going into release. He really didn't talk too much, I feel, about this album. And this was he dropped a movie with this album, not a movie, but like a documentary making it. It was so good. I mean, I watched it, and it was just brought me an insight, and like, I don't want to say it brought me closer, but I feel like it definitely brought me closer to Logic as an artist and as a person. Seeing him go through all the different phases of writing a song, coming up with the hit, and just getting the features. Just the whole writing process to me was extremely interesting on this whole album, and I thought that it was just something like, I forget what the song is. I believe it's African, where J. Cole, I think it's this one where J. Cole's in like the last like couple seconds of it, but how crazy of an artist and respected an artist do you have to be to get someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson, like a world-renowned scientist, on your album? Like, that, to me, that's just crazy. To be able to get someone of that status on there, and America with Chuck D, Black Dot, Big Lembo. I mean, just classic Rat Pack shit with No ID. No ID, the same guy who produced all of No Pressure and Under Pressure. But just hearing it, and hearing the production by Six, and it was just so good at the time. It still is so good. I think it's just so criminally underrated. And as we get further into his discography, and Bobby Tarantino too. Sorry for the delay right there, but for people said Bobby Tarantino too, was probably his best, but I feel like it was definitely one of his best albums. I mean, the way he switched it up with, warming up with Young Sinatra, Wizard of Oz, when he went with the whole auto-tune thing, and the Marshmallow feature was okay, but you had standouts on. Indica Badu was an amazing song. It's a great song just to kick back, relax, and just vibe to. But I think it's probably one of my favorites. I know I feel like I keep saying this about Logic, but just Logic for me is he holds such a special place in my heart that this album, Bobby Tarantino 2, I've listened to countless times. I mean, go-tos are on this album. 44 More is a go-to song for me, no matter what. If I'm upset, I'm happy, I'm mad, just hearing 44 More can change my mood from angry, sad, mad, all negative to a positive. And just hearing his flow, I mean, it's just something that, like, everyone has a song like that it's like a trigger in their head. It's like, oh, this song came on, automatically in a good mood. And I think personally it's something that should be really talked about more, as much as it is. They say this was his last good album before Young Sinatra 4, which we'll get into in a little bit here, but I thought it was a little ridiculous for what he did with it. But having features like Big Sean because of his callback for Big Sean, Incredible True Story Under Pressure, on the deluxe at least he has Big Sean, but stuff like that, and seeing him have a feature of Young Sinatra was kind of cool. The Wiz Khalifa thing, and then the Boom Trap Protocol and stuff, and the cover of the album, it's cool, but like, we all know what happened with his wife and set. It sucks, she did him so dirty with that. But I think personally, banger of an album. It gets a lot of credit, but there's always more credit to be due. And then we move on to back-to-back black. I get Black Sheep, I guess you'd say, of all of Logic's music. You get these two albums that are like, okay, I mean, one really doesn't make sense unless you read the book to go along with it, but he's got Young Sinatra 4, which, again, as much as I love Logic, I really did not listen to this album, and this is probably the album that I have the least to say about, but it just wasn't good to me. I know that for me even that was shocking. I tried so hard to like this album, but he really didn't say anything about it when it was coming out. He just horrible promotion, and he dropped it during a time when Lil Wayne was dropping the most recent Carter, I think it's the Carter 4 or Carter 5, one of those two. I believe it's 5. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but just it just wasn't good to me. I mean, it was a callback to old Logic back like before Under Pressure Logic, SoundCloud Logic. But hearing some of it, I was like, yeah, it's good. It's okay, but I mean, the Jaden Smith feature was all right, pretty mid. He had the Wu Tang Forever. I don't know what he was trying to go with that. Like I get the whole like East Coast kind of like thing, but it just, I feel like he just sometimes relied on this album more of his features and than himself, and I feel like he kind of bet against himself on. So I know he released a shit ton of singles for this album, but he was just dropping them, not really talking about what's happening with it. But I think this album could have been way better in my opinion. I mean, the way he could have changed it to me, and this is just me, take away Wu-Tang Forever and add more classic Logic onto it. Add more of the SoundCloud Logic from before he blew up really and he was still on the streets in Maryland Logic. Like if he had stuff like that on here, I feel like it'd be a great album. But I mean, he has a Wale feature. Wale is pretty good. But it's definitely nice seeing Big Lembo, seeing the Rat Pack. I remember seeing Ryan Tedder as a feature. I forgot completely all about him. And just seeing him in a feature, I was like, Logic and Ryan Tedder. And I was like, so I just don't know about it. Man, like, it's mid. It definitely could have been better, personally. I think how he went about dropping it and everything was a bad idea. Looking at what dropped that day, I mean, him dropping that would be on that day would be like someone dropping the same day as like Eternal Take, or like when Kanye dropped The Life of Pablo, or yeah, I guess, or if like someone tried to drop, if Cardi ever dropped a whole lot of Red, like if someone tried to drop that same day, like obviously the person with the more hyped up album is gonna do better and had way more promotion than, I mean, Logic's album, who barely promoted, and at this point people thought fell off and was just kind of dead in the water. And I see where he was going. This was a great. If you're an older fan of Logic and you liked his older shit, like I do, and his like SoundCloud stuff, this is great. This was prime Logic, but it just, to me, it was a letdown, in my opinion. I know a lot of people agree with me. I know there's a million people that'll disagree with me too. But, at the end of the day, it's just my opinion. And then moving on to Supermarket. I don't know what you're doing with this one, man. Like, Logic, I love you to death and all, but this album, it did not hit. It did not hit. I tried to listen to this album multiple times, and it just was not hitting for me at all. At any point during it, I felt like, for what it was, could have been better based off the book Supermarket. I kind of wish, instead of making the book, he made the album the book. Like, you know what I mean? Like, each song is kind of like a chapter or a page or a different story inside of the book. I mean, to be fair, I did not read Supermarket. I'm not too much of a reader. But listening to it, I was like, it could have been better. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm gonna read the book eventually, and I'll come back one day and make a real supermarket in-depth review of what I think of it after reading the book and listening to the album. But if you guys seriously know anything about the book or how it is, make sure you drop that in the comments below, as well as correcting me on which Carter it was that Young Sinatra dropped on. I want to thank you guys for that. And then moving on to arguably one of his most hated albums, I feel like one of the most not well received albums, with some weird features, man. Never thought I'd see Eminem and Logic together, or Gucci Mane and Logic, along with G-Eazy and Logic. As much as I love G-Eazy, I mean, Dangerous Mind was great and all, but the G-Eazy feature was just not good for me knowing what G-Eazy can do and what G-Eazy can do on the beat and on the verse. Hearing some of his stuff and other features of his, I just think it was very lackluster, along with the Corday feature. But that's just not the features that were lackluster. I feel like Logic was like, I feel like this was not Logic. I feel like Logic was trying to like keep with the whole, theme of the album and keeping like a central idea of it. But I feel like it was great, but could have been better in ways that, better features, better verses, more time. I mean, yeah, he took a lot of time between the last Bobby Tarantino to Young Sinatra, Supermarket, but again, I personally don't know how much time he took in total for all of these albums. And I mean, for all I know, he could have been working on this forever. But I just thought it could have been better. I mean, having his dad on the feature, but the best songs off this album. Sorry I didn't do it for the last two, but I mean, I really didn't have any two favorite songs off that album. But Keanu Reeves was amazing. I mean, in this album, I feel like he just addresses that he's a meme, kind of, I guess. He said, you saw about, yeah, I'm mixed like Obama. And now you saw about, you blow up when people make memes about you. It was just a whole, again, I love the song, but it could have been better. Same thing with the Wiz Khalifa song. I mean, in my personal opinion, he had a lot to live up to after Indica Badu, but it was alright. But Mama Show Me Love was decent, considering all of Logic's issues with his mother back then. Homicide, I'm not a big Eminem fan. I'm not a big Eminem fan in the slightest, but I thought Homicide was great. I thought Eminem's verse was good. I thought Logic's verse was good. Overall, the whole song was good, and that was really a standout for me. I mean, even the video was kind of funny, the guy with the stand-in and kind of being like the replacement. I thought it was really good. Again, I really don't have too much more to say about this album other than it was alright. Definitely could have been better. And then we move on to the final album, the album that made me cry listening to it. Again, this brings me back to Under Pressure. Obviously, No Pressure. But this album, to me, speaks for itself on the prestige of it and how Logic I feel like Logic comes full circle in this album. He went he kind of, to me, loses himself in between from like Young Sinatra to like Confessions, and he dropped three meh albums, but three phenomenal albums as well. And I feel like he kind of came with this album and said, "Yo, listen, I'm not washed up. You're not gonna get this Logic who is like, I'm biracial and all that stuff, the memes Logic and with all that." He came through with old beats, Soul Food Part 2, which was, oh my god, dude. Like, hearing the Soul Food beat again with different lyrics, different verses. It was all produced by, I'm sorry, I forgot his name for a second. It was produced by I can't believe I really just forgot who this was produced by for a second. I'm sorry, I'm having to say, I'm sorry, No ID. He was produced by No ID. Again, just hearing this, just hearing him and No ID come back for the final album, the album that he started with, produced by him, and just hearing it come full circle. And this was like Logic breaking the wall down to me and saying, I'm here, this is what you guys wanted, but this is like, I'm giving you guys what you wanted at the end. Almost like he went from like evil to good. Like, I'm about to use an anime reference here, but after Naruto talk no jutsus Nagato at the end of the Pain arc, spoilers, not really, the end when he fights Pain, and Nagato uses Rene Rebirth and gives everyone back their lives after they've all died. I feel like that's kind of what Logic did on this album. Let me explain what I mean by that is, he said, I'm gonna kill you guys with all these albums, but I'm gonna give you my life, the end of this. I'm gonna give you everything I have, all of my energy into this album. And this album was extremely tear-jerking for me, being as big of a Logic fan as I am. I mean, Hit My Line is amazing. Celebration, like I said, Soul Food 2, hearing the Soul Food beat again was just so nostalgic for me, and the way he reinvented it, and seeing Logic reinvent himself on older style beats that he used to use, and hearing him change it was truly amazing, and showing that Logic is above all the shitty albums he's put out, and kind of hearing what he's been like, and capping it off, having that same, talking about how it started with the No Pressure program, and then they met along the way the robot Thalia, who played a part in an Incredible True Story. And he kind of, the way I think of this album, the way I think of Logic's music and his discography in general is, it's like a series of movies. How you go from No Pressure, the program, into the Incredible True Story, the kind of Interstellar-esque, where he's putting all of his time, time, space, and the planet is destroyed pretty much, and they're hunting for the new planet, called Paradise, and hearing everything, and let's talk his beef with Joyner Lucas quickly. I must have hated Joyner Lucas for the longest time because he beefed with Logic. I mean, Logic, you think I'm really not the guy that he has beef, like, to beef with Logic. Like, the whole beef was started over what Joyner Lucas considered a lackluster verse of Tech Nine's song Sriracha. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the song that this whole beef started over. And shots were taken towards Logic. And Logic, he never really fired back until, to me personally, Bobby Tarantino too, when he had Elton John on there. And he kind of shit on Joyner Lucas with that, but they came back for probably one of the greatest songs ever. ISIS, that song is insane. It just goes crazy. I mean, from the beat to, imagine if Logic made an album with that same flow, that same punch that he had on that, and that same play on words that he did. If we had a whole song, or even like a small EP of just stuff like that, it would be insane. Like, it'd be magical almost. And then he had the song, I believe it was Sucker for Pain. Yeah, Sucker for Pain from the Suicide Squad album. Horrible movie, but great song. Logic's verse was a little overshadowed by Lil Wayne, Wiz Khalifa, Imagine Dragons, all of them. But I feel like he kept himself going on a beat that I feel like wasn't really a Logic-esque beat. But what he did with it, and he really turned, to me, nothing into something, and he just made that, he just amplified what that whole what that whole song was. And he had a song with Vic Mensa. It was made by Tyler Thomas, I believe. I have no idea who that is. Again, if someone can let me know in the comments. Sorry, I'm asking for all this comment help, but two people never thought would be in a song together. Logic and Vic Mensa. I mean, I don't like Vic Mensa for certain reasons, but I just never thought about it as like something that I'd plausibly listen to. I've maybe heard the song once or twice as of this recording, and literally listened to it before this recording once more, and I thought it was okay. Could have been better, I thought. And then he just has, I'm on his Spotify page, by the way, and he has a song from a Netflix original. Has a lot of stuff, just, and to me, I think that the deluxe, personally, of Under Pressure was revolutionary. I mean, Childish Gambino, Big Sean. I mean, till the end, amazing song. Under Pressure, amazing song. There's really not too many things. And sorry, I'm circling back, but I just want to go over some points that I think I missed going on to the Incredible True Story. I mean, this Paradise, the song was amazing, and hearing the way the songs, the intermissions, mixed to become this story of space exploration was something that to me was second to none. It was so interesting. I found myself listening to the whole album over and over, thinking like, what if this did happen to the Earth one day, and what if someone did hear an album that changed everybody's world. Like he says in Contact, he's saying Logic's second album, which is this, The Incredible True Story, was the one that changed the world. And it changed my world, but probably a lot of other people's. But just to touch on other things that I like about Logic is there's not too many features. He's not a big feature heavy rapper like a lot of the newer rappers are. But if he has features, they're tasteful. Like the big Lembo features, he's part of Rat Pack, but just the execution of his verses were just exquisite on how they sounded, on how they matched the beats to the songs. And Lucy Rose on Intermission, Drea again, Jesse Boykins the third, just all these features work. You won't see a feature on a Logic album really until you get further up onto like Young Sinatra 4 and Confessions, that you're like, I don't know about that, like Gucci Mane or Wu-Tang Forever with Ghostface, Raekwon, Method Man. Like, you just don't think of them with Logic. Or Jaden Smith maybe, but you can make a case for that. But just to me, it just doesn't make sense. And I hope soon, maybe one day in the future, I could come back and remake this video with a new Logic album out. But again, congratulations Logic on an illustrious career, on signing and getting the bag with Twitch. It's been Reaper, guys, and I'll talk to you later.
I have a speech in my pocket, along with everyone else here. But the funny thing is when I eventually went to the Grammys, I forgot my speech to put in my pocket. And I still lost. Fucking Bruno Mars, even though you're really amazing and I love you. And you deserved it. If I was to give a speech to end all of this, because K-Dot will probably get the Grammy. You know that motherfucker coming. Yeah. You know you coming, dog. This is my fucking speech. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the industry for shitting on me every step of the way because you only made me stronger. Thank you to every single fan that showed support and loved me over the years.